Good morning, guys. So jumping straight into part 9 of building an Ohana. Luckily it wasn't raining this morning, so I was able to get to Home Depot and I was able to pick up the beams for the loft roof. So I'm going to start working on that. Hopefully it cooperates. Hopefully the weather cooperates today, because basically what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to pull this whole tarp off up here, bring it, over to this half, remove all those 2x4s, put on my double top caps on the back wall and then the ridge wall, and put a 2x8 up there on the side, mark it, get my template made, transfer all that to here, get those cut, and then get them up there and get them installed. So I think that's what's going to happen right now. Unless the weather changes, then I'll switch to something else. But anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in, and let's get to work. All right, up in the loft, and I pulled the tarp back to expose this edge. And I have my 2x8 up here, so this is what I'm using to make my template. So I see I got it. I have a 2x4 underneath. It's screwed in. It's sitting on top of that at the spot where I want it to be. My friend George is leaving in his big diesel truck. So basically I put this in place, and then I can go up there. I can show you on this side because I can reach this side. But then I mark it with my pencil. So this is creating my template for my beams. So the beams, this is a 16-foot 2x8. Beams are 16-foot 4x8s. So then I'll get them cut out, and then they'll sit right on top of here. So let me get the other side marked and take this back down. All right, so back on the ground, you can see my bottom line there. So that'll get cut off. And over here, the top line, top notch. So there's a notch in, and then the line goes that way. So what's going to happen on the top up here, because obviously this beam is only going to go from wall to wall. So I'm going to end up doing kind of like a kick out. It's going to be 18 inches to 2 feet, and it's going to be, the roof is going to come down this way and basically match the pitch of this roof. And it's just going to stick out a little bit, like I said, like 18 inches to 2 feet maximum. As opposed to doing the shed style roof where the roof would just be sticking straight off the end. I don't really think that would look good. So I'm going to do a little kick out down that way. But once I get to that point, we'll show that. So I'm going to try and get all these things cut up, and then I will have to get them transitioned up to there, get this tarp pulled back, put on my double top caps, and then start putting these beams into place. All right, I got the tarp off. I've put my double top caps on the back wall and on the beam wall. So now I'm ready to start putting these beams up here. I got to finish cutting them first. I have one cut and moved up here. So I'll reposition this so that it's easier for me to get it up on there. So let me go cut the rest of them and then get them moved up here. Okay, tired. All right, so the first beam is in place. This was the most difficult one, I think, just because, I mean, it wasn't too bad actually. I mean, it went up pretty easy. Basically all I did is I got it up here. I lifted up one end onto the ladder. I got onto the ladder. I lifted it up to the top. Came back, lifted this side up to the top, moved it in place, and then screwed in the timber locks. So there's two 10-inch timber locks going in on both ends. And then of course, as this gets tied in, it'll be even more reinforced. So now time to do the other 4. Whew, so that looked easy, right? It always looks easy in the time lapse. Okay, so these beams are all up, as you can see behind me. Everything is anchored in with 10-inch timber locks, 2 on each end. So it's getting late. I think it's like 4:30 now, so I'm gonna get the tarp back on and call it a night for tonight. And then tomorrow I'll be out and I'll be working on doing the balloon framing on these gables on this side and then this side, and then also on the blocking in between the beams over here. And then once that's done, that's pretty much everything for the framing. Then I can start working on putting the roof on. And that's probably going to be starting on the lower half first, and then this one will be after. Because I'm also going to have to do some additional work on here. Since these beams are only 16 feet, I'm going to have to add some rafter tails here. And then, like I was explaining earlier, on the front side, I'm going to do like either an 18-inch or 24-inch bump out roof over there. So let me get the tarp on so I can go and relax. Good morning. So it's been a couple days since I've been out here working. And of course it's raining. It's like 6:45 in the morning, so a lot of times it rains like this in the morning, and then by 7:30, 8 o'clock it starts clearing up. What I'm going to be working on today is doing the balloon framing on these gable sides and getting that done. And once those are complete, that will be all of the framing. I mean, minus the roof, but that's not really framing, I guess. That's roofing. So I'm going to get to work on these sides and get those done. After that, hopefully the rain does clear up, and then I'll be able to start putting the house wrap on the loft section. All right, so this is all done. And go up the ladder here. And as you can see, I started putting the house wrap on. So that is all done. Everything is completely tied into the beam. Everything's all toe-nailed in. The house wrap is all fully stapled in. There's a small little section up there I'll have to add a piece on. But otherwise, as it goes across, then it basically covered the whole thing, and then it's folding over here. So wrapped around the corner. For right now, I'm leaving these poles here to hold the roof down or to hold the tarp down over the roof. But I do have it stretched all the way around, and I think I will have enough for the whole thing. So I was a little worried about that because I wasn't sure if it was, I didn't remember if the roll was 100 feet or 125 or 150. And then when I was at Home Depot a couple of days ago, I looked and it's actually 150. So yeah, I think I'll have just enough. Because you figure, 16 foot, 28 foot, 16 foot, 28 foot, and then you have 16, 16, 16, 16. So that's another, 64 feet. And then the bottom is, what's that, 32, and then the 28's 56. So that's like 80, 88. Yeah. So I should have enough. Math. So difficult. So next thing is going to be this one. I don't think I'm going to do this today though. I'm kind of cleaning up already. It's almost 2 o'clock. I'm just kind of tired. I had a long day working in Kona yesterday, and I got to go back to Kona tomorrow. So it'll probably be Thursday or Friday before I get to this side. All right, good morning. So I'm back out at the Ohana, and I just repositioned the poles up here that are holding the tarp. So before they were going through the wall, and then they had a cross piece there and a piece on the floor that was basically bracing them out. So basically what I did is I repositioned the poles above the wall and then did a cross beam, connected them with some corner pieces, and then put some 2x4s there to hold them in place, basically putting, you know, pressure out that way to hold in place. I mean, it's still, there's nothing really holding this down, so if like a really big gust of wind came, it could totally lift that up. It shouldn't pull off because it is attached on the underside of the posts or the beams there, but yeah, I mean, all this is just temporary anyway. So now that that stuff's out of the way, I can get this house wrap stapled up around there and start going around this side, and then I'm going to get started on getting that balloon framing there on the gable side. All right, so the house wrap is on fully all the way around up to this corner and a little past. The framing's all done. So that was the last bit of framing I had on the entire Ohana. So framing is done, minus you know, doing blocking and stuff in here and blocking up here. That's gonna have to wait, but I think what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna put the house wrap on this front part yet because I kind of wanna wait until I start working on the roof so that this house wrap can tie into the underlayment that's on the roof to kind of connect, because I want to actually run the underlayment up the wall a little bit, if that makes sense, on the other side. So this is going to sit until I actually start working on the roof on that lower section. But I think what I'm going to do now is kind of switch gears a little, and I'm going to start working on the rafter tails for this side, and then the bump out little roof on that side. And basically what that's going to be is making a template for a piece that's going to fit on either side. So the way the bump out's going to work is there's going to be two 2x8s that will sandwich the beam on both sides and sticking out. And I think now, I think I'm going to do some kind of a decorative, you know, rafter tail on, you know, both sides on the bump out and the rafter tail, kind of how I did on my shop, if anybody watched that video when I was building the shop. But I think I'm going to do something along those lines. So I guess my next step is going to be to make a template for the front side and a template for the back side, and then I'll essentially need to cut 10 pieces for each side because there's 5 beams and it's going to sandwich the beam on both sides, and then go from there. So I have one piece of 2x8 down there that I used for the template when I did these beams. So I think I'm going to cut a couple pieces off of there and start working on the layup for this stuff up here and get my templates made. And then once I get that stuff on, I can actually do my fascia on this front side, and then start figuring out how the roof is going to go on this top part. It's going to end up being 7 panels, which is 21 feet. So because that's 16 feet wide and 18 feet is not going to be enough, that'll only give me 1 foot overhang on each side. So I got to bump up to 21, which would be 7 panels because the roof panels are 3 feet each. So what's going to happen on the lower roof is it's going to overhang 2 feet on this side and it'll overhang 3 feet on that side. On the upper roof, I think I'm going to do 2.5 and 2.5 because I essentially will have 5 feet extra. So 2.5, 2.5. Because if I try to go bigger than that, I'm going to have to either go to a full another sheet or I'm going to have to cut a sheet, and I don't really want to do that. So you always got to try and plan it in 3 foot, you know, increments, just like when you're doing walls, everything's in 4 foot increments. So anyway, enough talking. Let me do something. All right, so I'm up here working on the template piece for the rafter tail. You can kind of see my markups. I did a cutout, so if you see that edge, basically wraps around the top of the wall and then goes out. That's not going to be the full length. It'll end up getting cut. So essentially from where the wall is here, or basically that line with the arrow, that will be where there's a piece of blocking in between the two pieces that are going to go on the beam. From there, it'll go out 3 feet. So I'll mark that line out there, and then I will do my, whatever the design is that I'm going to end up doing on there. And then this line in here with the 2 X's is where it's going to get cut so that it's flush with the wall. So this will, the drywall will end up going up here. So there will be blocking on both sides of this one. So an interior piece of blocking and an exterior. So the drywall will just go over top of this all the way up to the tongue and groove roofing. So now that I have that, I can take that off and go design what the decorative rafter tail is going to look like. And I'll basically make this exact same piece is going to be for up there as well. It'll just be shorter. Nice rainy morning. So I'm up in the shop and I'm starting to kind of map out these decorative rafter tails. And basically what I do is I just grab, you know, this is like a 5-gallon bucket lid. I use that to make some arcs and then some connecting lines, and I kind of just keep scribbling stuff until I find a pattern that I like. And then I cut that out and I use that as a template for all the other ones. So that's what I'm working on now. I think I kind of have a pattern that I like, but we'll see. So I'm gonna get this one cut out. All right, so I think this is the design that I settled on. Straight cut here, arc, straight cut, a little Z, a reverse arc, and then a 45. So this is where the wall is. So where it sits on the wall, the inside wall is this line here. So this line here is perpendicular to the board itself, and that's where there's going to be a 2x4 in between, which is basically going to cap the beam. So there's going to be 2 of these that are going to go, it's going to sandwich the beam essentially. So there will be one on each side, and then there will be a cap at the end, so I can just slide this into place, screw it in, and then that'll be it. So that's the final design. I'm going to get started on getting this cut out. And then this is for the back, the rafter tail essentially. And then I still have to work on making the one that's going to go over the windows, essentially where the loft is looking out. All right, so I'm back out at the Ohana. See, I got my marks up there where it's clamped on. And I was just worried about how, if the roof may obstruct the view, but I don't think it's going to be too bad. This is going to end up being 2 feet, sticking out 2 feet, which right now this board is 2.5. So it's going to be another 6 inches shorter than that, 6 to 8 inches even, because it was originally 3 foot that I cut. So minus the 1.5 inches that it's hanging over there, the board was 3 feet. So I think that'll be good. I got my marks for this. Now I can go work on making the design. All right, so there's the short side bump out roof design. Similar, but a little different. Doesn't have the Z in the middle. It's just a straight line because this one's so much smaller. And if you're doing this, you also need to think about what your fascia board is going to be. So I plan to use 2x6s for the fascia. So basically the way that I got this measurement here is a 2x4 on top of here, which would be the representing the purlin, and then the distance from the top of the purlin to here is what a 2x6 is. So that's how I got that measurement on both sides. So I'm gonna get these cut out and then start tracing and making all these. All right, so I am back down in the Ohana. I have my first set all cut out. This is going to be for that wall there, so the rafter tail, I guess it would be, where this is going to be a bump out roof. So I have these pieces all cut. I did one step further than what I did on my shop, and I actually went and I ran a round over bit over the edges of this just to clean it up and smooth it out a little bit. I mean, I don't know if you'll really notice that even from the ground, but you know, it'll still look a little nicer. So I have to basically assemble these. I have some 2x4 pieces cut, These are gonna go in between. So this will be spaced out like that. Spaced out a little further. And then the 2x4 piece is basically gonna get sandwiched in there. And then that's gonna be where the beam, this slides over the beam. So I'm gonna get these going, getting them screwed together, and then I will start putting them up in place. I'll get at least the 3 middle ones. The outside ones I may have to do a little additional work because the top cap for that, the wall there is gonna come out. So I might have to trim that or do something to it. I gotta look at it once I get up there. So let me get these put together. All right, so there's the first one installed. That's how it'll look. It's basically gonna be like a double. Sandwich the beam, screwed in, and there will be a fascia board out there. So let me get the rest of these up. All right, I have all of the rafter tails up. So you guys can kind of get an idea of what it's gonna be. Of course, there will be a fascia board, you know, on the end of that, going all the way. It'll be sticking out, you know, and then that's basically going to be the corner of the roof. So it'll be sticking out 3 feet on this side, 2 feet on this side. I was going to do it 2.5 and 2.5, but I think I should match the lower roof because the lower roof is 3 feet on this side, just for symmetry, I guess. So now I need to work on getting the blocking in here, and then I can get this siding installed, and then this wall will be done once the blocking's up and the siding's up. So yeah, nice progress. All right, so after finishing those rafter tails, I've transitioned back to siding. So I wanted to, I started getting the siding here. I have my little piece of flashing there going in between, and I'm gonna work my way around so that I can get the blocking and everything done on that back side. Also, something else I guess I didn't film. I can get over here. I actually went and did the purlins. So this first one here was kind of an important one that I needed to get done. So first off, these are spaced. It's not just a 2x4 on its side like a purlin normally is. These ones are spaced up on their end because it has to take into account the thickness of the purlin laying on its side, and then also the tongue and groove, which is about 3/4 of an inch or 5/8 to 3/4, somewhere around there. So basically I took a piece of the tongue and groove and then a 2x4, and that's where I got my measurement for these. So that one is set up so that the tongue and groove will be able to sit up against that on the inside. So should be just about right. But anyway, those are up all the way across, and then again, sticking out 3 feet on this side, 2 feet on that side. So let me get back to the siding. I think I'm probably just gonna wrap this video up because I know I'm probably pushing 25 minutes now, or 24, something like that. All right, guys. So like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up. This is, I think, part 9. I don't know. I always lose track after like the 7th or 8th one. I think it's part 9. Anyway, it'll be right on the title once I put it up. But again, I'm just documenting everything that I'm doing here. So I saw this all over my face. So yeah, I'll just be continuing. What's going to happen in the next video is, like I said, that I'm starting on now, is getting this siding, which is going to go all the way around and then around the back and then eventually around the entire house. The house wrap up here, as you can see, is still sitting there. I'm kind of waiting on that. I could put that up, so I may, but in the next video, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be getting started on the roof. So the roofing above me here, which is going to be on top of the beams of the lower roof. That will be the first tongue and groove to go in. So, which means I need to start laying all that tongue and groove out and starting to stain it or whitewash it, because it's going to be whitewashed. And I want to do all that before I put it up. I could do it after, but it would just be more difficult. So with that, guys, I want to say thanks for watching. As always, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. And I will see you guys on the next video. Aloha.